Marriage is a social and legal contract between two individuals who agree to support each other and provide emotional security. Unfortunately, in many cases, one of the spouses is narcissistic, leading to difficulties in dealing with their narcissistic traits. Despite this, many wives are strongly attached to their husbands emotionally and cannot accept the idea of separating from them, even if their behavior is narcissistic and abusive. Additionally, if there are children involved, the wife may feel compelled to continue the relationship with her narcissistic husband, hoping that he will change or improve his behavior towards her. Hello, and welcome to a new episode and a new video about narcissism. If you are interested in our topics about narcissism, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell to receive all our upcoming episodes. Firstly, my speech may be in the masculine form to facilitate the delivery of information, but it should be understood that everything we say about narcissism is not specific to a particular gender, whether male or female. The narcissistic personality we are talking about could be a man or a woman. Today, I will tell you about some ways that may help your narcissistic spouse to change. Unfortunately, these methods may not apply to all spouses, but to those who are likely to be willing to change or who feel troubled by themselves and want to fix it. I'm not talking about spouses who are not willing to change because we discussed before that it is impossible for a narcissist to change. However, what we are going to say today is a specific attempt to maintain the relationship because of the presence of children. The first step is to be patient with his flaws. One of the most important things that must be present in marriage is patience. It is when spouses are patient with each other, meaning they tolerate each other's habits and weaknesses in their relationship and life together. You can help your narcissistic spouse to change for the better by being patient with his difficult nature and not pressuring him to change his lifestyle or difficult personality. Try to show him that there is someone beside him who supports him and tolerates his mistakes. This gives him the assurance and reassurance that you will never leave him as long as you see that he is willing to change, or that he really feels that there is a problem with him that needs to be fixed. The second step is not to try to justify his mistakes. Do not try to justify the mistakes you see as deliberate because if you do, the attempt to change him will not succeed. The narcissist is very confident that there is someone who can bear his mistakes. You can change your narcissistic spouse for the better, but you must be careful to communicate with him constantly about his mistakes. However, try to avoid accusations and try to understand that you understand his needs. Always ask him how you can help him, and also ask him not to repeat the mistakes he made as long as he is willing to change for the better. The third step is to contain him with care, love, and attention. It is known that one of the reasons for narcissism is bad treatment by one's father or mother, and many of them grew up in families with problems or where the father or mother treated them badly. This leads to the child being afflicted with narcissism and growing up with it. Most of them lacked the parents' care and never felt real love within the family. You can help your narcissistic spouse or control him and change him for the better by showing your care for him and your real love for him. Understand his problems constantly, meaning you are the first person to give him the emotional needs he lacks to heal his heart from the wounds he has from his childhood. The fourth step is to avoid judging him. You can help your spouse change for the better by drawing his attention to his mistakes without judging him or giving a specific opinion about him. Always be in constant communication with him about his bad behaviors that affect your relationship with each other. Try to think about the motives that made him act this way and try to find the right way to deal with this behavior and correct it. Always understand that humans all make mistakes, and as long as the mistake is unintentional, there is no problem. We will do everything in our power not to repeat this mistake. You must constantly understand that no one is perfect or infallible, but completely avoid justifying his mistakes. But tell him that you are trying to change him for the better and that the mistakes that happened should not be repeated to maintain our relationship with each other. The fifth step is to try to speak to him from your heart in a way that reaches his heart as well. Communication, my friends, is the key to the continuity of any relationship. The spouses always convey their feelings and emotions to each other, and in this case, they know each other's emotional and psychological needs. You can help your narcissistic spouse to change for the better and the best by trying to have a dialogue with him from your heart in a way that makes him feel your closeness to him and your concern for him. You can avoid clashes and misunderstandings that may occur between you through the dialogue you open between you and him. And also the dialogue should be without raising your voice in a way that suggests that you are quarreling with him. When you find him raising his voice in the dialogue, ask him in a gentle way to speak in a calm voice and let him know that you are not quarreling but understanding each other. The sixth step is to try to correct all the obvious signs of narcissism in him. You can help your spouse to change for the better and the best by knowing the obvious signs of his narcissism and trying to correct them. Try not to ignore the obvious flaws in him at all, and this should be done in a gentle way without violence in speech or dialogue. All your words should be motivated by your desire to maintain your home, your family, and your husband. You need to be able to distinguish right from wrong in the relationship and in his behavior towards you. Try not to show the narcissist that you are holding him accountable when you point out a specific mistake he made, but do it in a smart way that is not provocative, so he understands that he is being criticized or held accountable. The best way to address your spouse's flaws is to speak calmly and without violence at all, and you should have a certain amount of patience so that you can create a safe space for him to feel safe in your dialogue with him regarding his wrong actions or behaviors. When your spouse feels safe with you, he can accept any dialogue from you regarding your attempt to change him for the better. The seventh step is not to make yourself a scapegoat for your narcissistic spouse. The narcissist is known for blaming and holding others responsible, which we call gaslighting. When the narcissist does this, it is to avoid responsibility for his actions by throwing them on the other party. When the narcissist makes a wrong move, he immediately accuses someone else of the mistake in an attempt to absolve himself of responsibility for the act, and the other party could be you because he does this with the person closest to him. In addition, he is very keen on putting himself in a position where he is never wrong or mistaken. One of the things that will help you help your spouse change for the better is not to allow yourself to be a scapegoat. A scapegoat is someone who accepts blame and responsibility or is held accountable for the fault of another person. The next step is to work on yourself. You must be aware and sure that you cannot help your narcissistic spouse change for the better if you are not mentally, emotionally, and psychologically stable. Also, try to avoid showing that you are being hypocritical with the narcissist or pretending to him, meaning try to make your behavior with him sincere even if you are actually pretending, because the narcissist can feel very good about this, and if he feels this way, he will start to turn against you and focus on your mistakes because the narcissist is very good at avoiding anyone confronting him with his mistakes. The next step is to try to convince your spouse to accept treatment. If you cannot tolerate the obvious narcissistic signs from your spouse and cannot deal with them, or even with your attempts to change them, in this case, you can seek help from a therapist specializing in these cases, who can help you greatly in trying to change your spouse for the better, which will definitely be better if you can convince your spouse to go with you to a psychiatrist or therapist in an attempt to change for the better. In addition, if you are suffering from narcissistic abuse, you can also get the necessary advice from your spouse to try to change and avoid the harm you are exposed to. It is known about narcissists that they reject treatment or go to a psychiatrist because they completely refuse to have their flaws pointed out or to show themselves in a bad light. But what you should do is try and not give up quickly if you feel that these steps could bring a result with your spouse. And as I said to you at the beginning, if you feel that there is a possibility of change in your spouse, it is you who determine it, not anyone else by your life and your living with him. Not someone who comes to tell you to continue in a relationship that is abusive and humiliating just because you don't have an alternative other than that. It is definitely unfair. Continuing in a situation like this ultimately means destroying your physical, mental, emotional, and psychological health. In this case, the top priority is for you and your health. Finally, there is no problem in forgiving in anything except in narcissistic abuse, humiliation, and lack of value. I hope you have benefited from this episode, and God willing, we will meet in the next episode with a new topic about narcissism. Thank you, and peace be upon you.